For more campaign 2024 discussion, let's bring in today's political panel. Joining me today is the Vogel Group principal, Bill McGinley, and the host of Can We Please Talk podcast, Mike Leon. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with Nikki Haley today, talking about her performance the other night and where she goes from here.
We have to make sure that we have a new generational leader that's going to bring in not only Republicans, but we're going to pull back the independents. We're going to bring back in the suburban women. We're going to bring in Hispanics. We're going to bring in the Asian community. We have to make sure we win this, because the thought of Kamala Harris being president should send a chill up every American spine.
Mike, what about her performance the other night, and how does she grow her campaign from here?
Well, first off, thank you for having me, Mike. And not only that, she just mentioned two groups that I'm a part of, Hispanics and moderates, right? And she wants to focus on different issues and humanizing issues. I thought when Martha asked her the question in the debate about the abortion issue and women's reproductive rights, which has been the focal point for the last 12 months that Republicans have been getting hammered on, right? And she said we need to humanize it. We need to care about the mother. We need to do certain things and come to common ground, right? Which is what we all want, bipartisanship in all of this. I think that she did the best job articulating that. You saw in the recent Ipsos Fox News WAPO poll that she went up 17% from that debate in terms of people wanting Nikki Haley as their preference after watching the first debate. I think if she continues the message like that, she could shoot up before the September 27th next debate on Fox Business.
Bill, how do you grade her performance, and where does she go from here?
I think she did a really good job. I think what she did is really put herself at the top of the establishment lane in the Republican primary. And I think we're going to see a number of these, the MAGA lane with President Trump. Ron DeSantis was kind of in that lane. But Nikki Haley has really kind of come forward as the one to beat in the establishment lane. She not only demonstrated her ability to do it as the South Carolina governor, but also the ambassador to the UN on the foreign policy side. And so I think if she continues to do that and grows her ground game in Iowa, New Hampshire, and in South Carolina, she could be a real force to reckon with down the road.
Okay, on the Democratic side, we have Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders out this weekend pushing President Biden and Democrats to do better. Let's play him.
We're making progress, and Biden has a right to be proud of that. The point of my remarks is that you cannot simply, as President of the United States, rest on your laurels. So my message yesterday for the Democrats, not just for the president, is if you want to do well in this election, talk to the needs of the American people, have the guts to take on the big money interests who have so much power.
Is that a warning shot, Mike?
Mike, you know how on late night shows an actor will go on and they don't know what the clip is going to be and they'll pretend surprised? That's literally what happened here. And I'm glad Senator Sanders said that, because if you think about it, President Biden's approval rating is not great right now. He ran on a platform of I can unify moderates, independents, Democrats, Republicans. I'm a president for everybody. You've heard him say this a bunch of different times. And right now, his messaging, especially things that he has enacted into law, is not very good around it, right? We obviously all know about his son being investigated and stuff like that and what that's taking away from voters' attention. But I'm in agreement there with Senator Sanders. He needs to message a little bit better on this, needs to get out more in front as opposed to what he's doing right now. I know we're all on the recess break, but he needs to message a little bit better to the American people about how these policies have directly impacted it. Not just surrogates on television. It's got to be more of the president out there doing primetime conferences, explaining some of these pieces of legislation.
What about Sanders being out in force this weekend?
Look, I think Senator Sanders went up to New Hampshire to deliver the message to the president that your rhetoric is not matching the reality of what the voters are actually feeling. We see Oliver Anthony and his song shooting to the top of the charts. Families are suffering not only under higher inflation and prices for basic goods, it's starting to cut into the budgets. When you look at the credit crunch for small businesses, the engine of job growth in this country, what's happening with the regional banks and the interest rate hikes are really putting those banks and a lot of these small businesses in trouble. And if you look at the president's campaign, you actually look at the FEC report, he only got about $5 million in low-dollar donors. They touted this $77 million haul. Wasn't a lot of low-dollar donor in there. And Politico even ran a story about how small-dollar donors through Act Blue are down right now. So I think these are all warning signs for a White House that's trying to deliver a message. We understand what's happening with working-class families and small businesses, but their policies are not delivering what they promise.
Okay, I want to squeeze in one more topic. Former Senator Joe Lieberman was on Fox News Sunday today. You can see the full interview coming up. But what about the possibility of a third ticket in the race? What would that do, Mike?
Well, I mean, Mike, we know the history, right? There's only been 2 other candidates that have done moderately successful, and let's call it that, and George Wallace and then obviously Ross Perot in '92. I think that really splits out the vote right now. If former President Trump decides to go that route, we were talking about this off air, about can anybody here supplant the former president, and then eventually if he goes a third-party route, I think he would be the only person that could be potentially successful in that lane. Anybody else who's trying to do a split, we see what Joe Manchin's been doing with his idea of floating a third-party balloon out there. It's not going to work. They always poll within 1% or maybe even less, and all they do is split out states like Georgia and Arizona, where you've got the margin is razor thin for both parties, and now you're siphoning votes away from that. So if you're running around as a third-party candidate, I wouldn't do it.